tomatoes, peppers, squash, green beans, peas, pumpkins, potatoes. You're watching Gardening with Grits. Hey everybody, welcome back to Gardening with Grits and welcome back to my garden. So today's video is going to be the top 5 gardening items you should never pay full retail for. But before that, let's get into the garden tour. So corn, we talked about the corn in my previous video. So, not doing all that great, but this is going to be a lesson learned. We're going to do better for next year. We got tons of tomatoes everywhere. You see the Marzanas, they look beautiful. We've had some turn already, they taste really good. We've been pulling tomatoes every day. There's one down there, it's starting to turn. So we've been pulling tomatoes every day. They're really tasty. Look at this, I'm gonna have to pull these down here soon. Look at that. But now we got hit with some more wind this week, so we really had to tie things up really hard. So I got some cucumbers. The pumpkins have really went crazy. As you can see, they're all the way down the yard. So we're gonna have a ton of pumpkins this year. As you can see, looky there, pumpkin. So, and they're all the way out of my grow area. So pumpkins are way out of the grow area. Down here we start using the trays so they won't rot on the bottom. There's one there. And then here's a big one over here. Look at that one. And we've already had some turning orange already, which is kind of scary. But got some sugar baby watermelons right up in there. We got a few of those going, which I'm happy to see. We never do good with watermelons, so if we have watermelons this year, it'll be a miracle. Yeah, so they're going. Again, you can see the tomatoes. I mean, we have tomatoes like crazy. Love it though, they taste so good, fresh. More pumpkins. See the pumpkins all the way down the yard. Pumpkins, here's another big pumpkin here. Got one down here. And then here's another one, he's starting to turn. So, lots of pumpkins. They're crazy. Oh, there's an orange one in there. There's an orange one over there. So, off into the garden here we go. So here's the green beans. We thought we were going to get a second crop of green beans, but these held out and they kept producing. So we did not pull them. We did pull the peas, and those are the new peas. So we got another batch of peas, so we're going to get a second crop of peas this year. So let's go back here. This guy was a volunteer tomato. I put a cage around him just so we wouldn't forget about him. But he's already getting little buds, and he's going to produce tomatoes. So here's another yellow turning pumpkin. And then we have a bunch, again, more tomatoes. You can see some turning there. Now we got broccoli here. We actually have never done well with broccoli, so this will be a first for us if we actually get some broccoli this year. The squash did great this year. We got tons of squash. More green beans. I think the squash squeezed this little row of green beans out. So, but we got tons of squash this year. It was really good. Cabbage, and as you can see, we're starting to get some broccoli in there. So, tons of peppers. Got peppers growing everywhere. There's a bunch here that need to be pulled. So, again, more peppers. Lots of tomatoes. This guy here was a volunteer. This one was a volunteer, and this one here was a volunteer, and they're producing. So it's nice. And you can see this is like I don't think these are Marzanas. I think these are some kind of plum tomato or something. But they're really nice looking. Should be tasty. Again, we had to do a lot of tying up because we got some more wind this past week. But as you can see, we got tons of green tomatoes. And we got tons of tomatoes every day. So, turning out really nicely. Here's our little raspberry bush. This is his first year, so we should get raspberries next year. So, then our potatoes, we'll be pulling potatoes probably this coming week. They're nice. And then we got our onions, a little bit of strawberries, and the carrots. So those did really nice. They're doing really well. We're really anxious to see the onions, how the onions come out. And here's our bucket plants. So there's some lettuce. The lettuce is looking beautiful. This is a volunteer tomato. That's a volunteer tomato. This is a tomato. You can see he's got another tomato here and a couple peppers. And they're doing really nicely. And then this bucket here has got some honey rock cantaloupes in it. So we're going to try late season honey rock and see how that works out. And over here, got more lettuce going. So we're going to have fresh lettuce. Alright guys, I think that concludes this week's garden tour. And let's get into the crux of the video. The 5 gardening items that you shouldn't pay full retail for. Alright, let's talk about the 5 gardening items you should never pay full retail for. Number 1, fencing. I see fencing all the time at yard sales. A lot of times people just want to get rid of it, get it out of their way, it's in their way. A lot of times I see it for $5 or $10 for a roll, and a lot of times those rolls they're $50 or $60 rolls at Lowe's or Home Depot, and that's a really good way to protect your garden from the rabbits, and maybe or even upgrade your fencing. But I see it at yard sales, I see it at flea markets all the time, and even online, local online auctions. That's just one of those things you can save yourself a lot of money. Recently, my wife picked up 2 rolls of brand new fencing, welded wire fencing, and she paid $5 a roll. She was excited. She called me. She said, "Hey, should I get these 2 rolls of fencing?" I was like, "Absolutely." So, and that was one of those rolls of fencing is what we used to expand our grow area on our watermelon patch. So, for $5, it was about a $50 or $60 roll of fencing. It was like 30 inches by 50 foot or something like that. So, but it was a nice deal, and keep an eye out for those kind of things. And you want to plan for the future. Even we're kind of getting late in the growing season now, and start thinking about next year and pick up those things. Number 2 is water hose attachments. So if you have to use a lot of water hoses like we do, those little brass attachments, the couplers and the quick releases and all those things, if you use those things, they're very expensive at the big box stores. And I see those in local online auctions and even on eBay sometimes. But I've picked up quite a few in local online auctions recently. And the last batch I got, there was like 8 of those quick release couplers in a batch. I think I paid $2 for them. Each one of those couplers was like $8. So, and I got them. I have them here. So all my little things, my sprinklers and my gardening wands and all that have quick releases on them now. So it makes it easier for me. And I picked those up for a really inexpensive price. So I even see sprinklers, gardening wands, and a lot of times the stuff is brand new. I see it's never been used. And why not pick it up for a discounted price instead of buying it from the big box store? Number 3 is a couple items. It's buckets and planters. This year, my wife and I took on bucket planting. That was something we added to our gardening arsenal, and we really like it, and we're going to continue to do it. And, I see buckets all the time out there. People are trying to get rid of buckets, and I see them at yard sales and auctions and things like that, thrift stores. And a lot of times I even see people on Facebook Marketplace giving buckets away for free. So if you're into bucket gardening or you like to use planters a lot, I would say look out for yard sales, flea markets, thrift stores, and pick those items up there. A lot of times there's, you know, a bucket now, a 5-gallon bucket now at Lowe's or Home Depot's $5 now. They used to be $2 not too long ago. Now they're $5. Well, why not get them for free? There's a lot of grocery stores that do custom cake decorating will have icing buckets. And if you go in your local grocery store and if they do custom cake decorating, you might be able to ask them for their icing buckets and get those for free. And or if you have a local bakery that does custom cake decorating, they might be willing to give you those for free, because it takes a lot of icing to do a custom cake, and they usually come in 2, 3, or 5-gallon buckets. So that's a way to pick those up. And again, on your local check your local online auctions. There's a auction site called HiBid, and they have just about every area that I've checked that HiBid is there, and there's local auctions in your area probably. So that's one way. And then let's see, number 4 is tomato cages. We don't use tomato cages on everything, but we do use some tomato cages. And anytime I see those at a yard sale or something, I try to pick them up, because they're very expensive now if you want to buy a tomato cage retail. They're $5 and up. Even if you look, sometimes I see them for the fancy ones are $20 or $25 for one tomato cage. I mean, it's crazy. I never could imagine that a tomato cage would be that expensive, but they're expensive now. So you want to look for those kind of items. Plan for next year. So put a plan together. If you're serious about gardening, or if you really enjoy it and you know you're going to garden next year, put a little plan together. And when you're out, running errands, you see a yard sale, maybe stop there. And if you don't see any, maybe ask the people, hey, you got some gardening items you want to get rid of? Because most of the time when people are doing a yard sale, they're just trying to get rid of stuff. And you might ask them for something they might have thought that item had 0 value, and you're like, hey, I could take those tomato cages off your hands. So, but tomato cages are very expensive now. So I would suggest checking out yard sales, stuff like that, flea markets and stuff like that. And then the 5th item are garden tools. Garden tools are very expensive retail. I mean, a small little shovel or something is $7, $8, $9, $10 at one of the retail stores. So look again. I see them all the time. We pick up little odds and end tools all the time at yard sales and flea markets for 25 cents or 50 cents. And even long handle tools, shovels, hose, those kind of things, I see those all the time for $1 or $2. Sometimes they need a little bit of cleanup or a little bit of work on them, but I mean, if you try to buy a new shovel at one of the big retail places, it's $20, $25, $30 for just a cheap shovel now. So unless you have an Ollie's bargain barn in your area, sometimes Ollie's will have shovels for like $5 new. But I mean, most of the time, if you're going to Lowe's or Home Depot or Menards, if you have Menards in your area, you're going to pay $20, $25, $30 for a new shovel. New hoe, rake, anything like that. You want to pick those items up used if you can. Save yourself some money. If you save yourself money on these items, you can spend money buying high quality seeds. That's the way I look at it. So save the money here, spend the money on your high quality seeds, or variety of seeds if you want, or if you're just trying to garden as the least expensive way you can, this is a way to do it. So appreciate you watching the video. Appreciate you watching my top 5 gardening items to never pay full retail for. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and we will see you on the next video.